So yeah, what a difference 24 hours can make in terms of combat sports. Jake Paul and Michael Chandler are texting each other this morning, crying and whinging because their opponents just don't care about them. They just don't care. Conor McGregor does not care and does not want to fight Michael Chandler. That's completely and utterly evident over the last couple of weeks. He's saying that he's too desperate, that he wants it too much. You're out. And as for the Jake Paul Nate Diaz thing, Nate Diaz doesn't have any interest, man. It is actually embarrassing. We're going to get into all that and whereabouts this leaves us with Dustin Gaethje in terms of what's next for him. Before we do, if you could hit subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. Cheers. So yeah, look, we'll have a look at this. Sign the contract, big boy. I KO him with one shot, guaranteed. I alluded to this the other day when I was talking about Dustin Gaethje's press conference when Conor called him out. And I put it down to Conor just being Conor, sending out tweets the night of a big fight, doing what he does to stay relevant. But it looks like this might actually have a little bit of traction. It looks like Gaethje wants it, Conor wants it, Ali Abdelaziz might actually want this as well. So is this going to happen? I see so many people are talking about it in the last 12 hours and I just said I'd throw my hat into the ring and see how it goes. Most people are writing Conor off. They're saying no way could he possibly come back after a 2-year break and the actual horrific leg break and do anything against Dustin Gaethje. Who knows? Maybe they're right, maybe they aren't. Conor believes that he can come back, land that big left hand and put him out cold. I mean, in terms of the actual fight, whether it's going to happen, are the UFC, is Dana going to push this fight forward? Does he actually believe that the Michael Chandler fight is just done now? Because the numbers aren't there with the Ultimate Fighter. It's boring and Chandler is acting slightly desperate. I can understand he got offered a big fight. He got his name put up there with Conor McGregor. It's going to bring in big revenue. So I can understand where he's coming from. And I actually love Michael Chandler. I think he's an awesome fighter, good guy, and he really did put Conor to shame in this season of The Ultimate Fighter. Made Conor look like a complete and utter douchebag who's just there to sell proper 12. And I think that he does deserve the fight. I think that he's put in the hard work and he does deserve it. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen. So after Dustin Gaethje sparks the douchebag Dustin Poirier out cold on Saturday night, he calls for a title shot. He wants another run at the title against Islam. So that's an interesting proposition there. If Islam manages to get through Charles Oliveira, then do we see Dustin Gaethje being next in line? We don't know how the Volk situation is going to go. So that's an interesting narrative and timeline for Dustin Gaethje. He's calling for a title fight. He didn't want anything to do with Conor McGregor the other day, but something has changed in the last 12 hours and the two of them are going back and forth online. How would that work out? How would this play out? Would this be a December card? Would it be Madison Square Gardens? Would it be Conor McGregor sliding under the USADA radar just for this fight? Stranger things have happened. Would it make a mockery of the UFC as a sport if Conor came in and all of a sudden was cleared by USADA? Justin said he wasn't going to fight anyone on steroids. Dustin said he wasn't going to even talk about someone that was taking steroids. He would only talk about Conor McGregor if he got himself back in the USADA pool. So a lot of people are just writing Conor off. I know I heard Josh Thompson on the Weighing In podcast saying that most fighters think that Conor is a joke. Most fighters are laughing at him. That can only fuel the dark side of Conor's brain to get back into training, right? I said at the end of my last video, it's like, dude, stop tweeting, stop taking chads, stop taking juice, go and get into a training camp. And let's see what happens. Because if that is the case and Conor got himself knuckled down and started to train and put himself through a decent camp to fight Dustin Gaethje, how does that fight go? Gaethje has had an unbelievable run of late, rejuvenated his career, rejigged that crazy outlandish style that he used to have when he was swinging for the fences and looks a little bit more calculated. We saw it against Dustin, we saw it against Fiziev. But can he stop Conor's left hand? At this stage, does Conor have anything else besides the left hand? We saw Conor's last two performances against Dustin. The first one, he was actually stinging Dustin with the left hand. We know it's powerful. Dustin has said that he's never been hit by anyone harder and that possessed more power than Conor McGregor. So that's an interesting one. But Dustin weathered the storm, outboxed him and knocked him out. Second fight, a little bit different. Conor reverts back to the karate style, entered into the first exchange with like a spinning heel kick, tried to stay on the outside, tried to use kicks, and eventually engaged in a grappling contest because it wasn't working. And when he engaged in the grappling, it went to the ground and we saw what happened. Dustin put some ground and pound on him. I don't believe it was 100% Dustin's way. I think that Conor did some decent work from the ground. He had some decent up kicks, he had some decent elbows, and he did get up onto the feet, and we don't know where the fight would have went because of the leg break. But that's his last two performances. Not really great. The one before that, Donald Cerrone blitzed in 5 seconds. So do we actually believe that Conor possesses the skills to go out there and absolutely annihilate Dustin Gaethje? I don't know. But I'll tell you one thing, it's a way more interesting fight than the Michael Chandler fight. Unfortunately, I have to say that, even though I do like Chandler. How much would this fight annoy the douchebag Dustin Poirier? Because we saw Poirier say in the press conference the other night that he's the better fighter. I'm better than Justin Gaethje. He got lucky, high kick, boom, out I went. Out cold. But I am the better fighter, that's what he said. So not only does this not lead to a title fight for Dustin, it also doesn't lead to a trilogy fight with Conor McGregor. So the speculation is flying everywhere of this Conor McGregor-Justin Gaethje fight. I saw Chael miss the bus completely because he did a video probably around 12 hours ago, and he's talking about a trilogy between Dustin and Gaethje. After this interaction, after Gaethje actually saying, look, sign the contract, and Conor saying, signed, then how could we even contemplate a trilogy fight between Dustin the douchebag Poirier and Justin Gaethje? No one's interested in that, bro. You missed the boat again last night. Totally off with another take. This is where we're headed, apparently. December bout, Conor McGregor, Justin Gaethje. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see how it works out. Let me know what you think would actually happen if this fight does actually come to fruition. If this does all play out the way Conor thinks it's going to play out in his mind, then Chandler's going to be really upset. And understandably so. Jake Paul seems to be in the exact same boat as Michael Chandler. I don't know if any of you saw last night, there was a face-off. This little interaction between Nate Diaz and Jake Paul. Of course, it had Ariel the Rat in the middle. I'll get to him in a minute. So Jake Paul is talking like he just arrived in Siberia and he's facing Ivan Drago on Christmas Day. And it's not that. No one is interested in this fight, bro. It doesn't matter how much you tried to build it up. Last night, you were trying to build it up as if it was this explosive thing. And Nate Diaz stood up and walked out. Like, this is not professional from Nate Diaz. He is not one bit interested in this fight. And it just seems completely and utterly desperate from Jake Paul to build this up to be a big explosive boxing match in the boxing world where it's going to have some sort of impact when it isn't. I hate saying it. I hate being this guy. I did it before. I called out KSI and I got so much heat online. But I'm going to do it again. I'm not a big fan of this trash, man. I'm not a big fan. I know that Jake Paul and Logan Paul are extremely athletic guys. They have so much money that they can do training camps and actually become somewhat decent in a sport. Absolutely no problem saying that. Jake Paul has only fought one amateur boxer, which was Tyson Fury's brother, Tommy. And it was a shit show. It was honestly embarrassing. Everything else besides that has been 45-year-old ex-UFC guys, some of them who have never even thrown a punch in their life. And you're walking around like you're Floyd Mayweather or Conor McGregor. You're not it, bro. It's not working. And it looks like this whole Nate Diaz thing is going to be a dud. That's what I think anyway. In terms of the fight itself, Nate doesn't give a shit. Nate is pumping on weight. He's eating food. He looks slow. He looks uninterested. He looks lazy. Doesn't look like this is even going to be a competitive fight when it gets in there. If this kid who's like 20 years younger comes in and starts throwing big right hands, this thing could be over real fast. It could go the other way. Nate could drag it in to be a dirty boxing match and it could go 5, 8 rounds, whatever it's scheduled to go. But again, who cares? Who is actually interested in this fight? But I did want to touch on one little note because I saw that the rat Ariel was there and he was sitting in the middle of it. And everything he does, I'm not even going to pretend that it's an unbiased opinion. Everything he does drives me insane. So he's sitting there and he's like promoting this Drago versus Rocky fight and the thing just like falls flat like a wet fish after about 30 seconds. And I'm thinking this serves you right for promoting this absolute and utter garbage. But that's not the only thing he was promoting in the last few days. I'm going to jump over and show you this tweet. So here we have Ariel. What an incredible clip. Never saw it. Adored Pee-wee as a kid. Watched the show every week. Saw all the movies. Very sad to hear of his passing. May he rest in peace. Now I quote tweeted that. And so many other people quote tweeted him as well. So I just put in there, look, I'm sure he would have adored you too. And then I alluded to exactly what the actor Rubens was arrested for and charged with. And exactly what he was. Got to be careful what I say here. But these are the type of people that Ariel would promote. And he would denigrate and destroy people like Bryce Mitchell for having a critical mind and questioning what we should and should not put in our bodies. I know it sounds like I'm holding a grudge because I probably am. But it's like, dude, know where your priority is. You're an absolute and utter shill scumbag. So let's just be clear and have our stance on Ariel Helwani and exactly the type of person that he is. He's promoting people on his platform that have been charged with having possession of child pornography, who were also arrested and charged for performing lewd acts in public whilst watching this type of content. And then they were protected by Hollywood and allowed to work with children over and over and over again. And Ariel Helwani decides to promote people like that and say rest in peace. But that's what you're dealing with there. That's exactly what you're dealing with there. In terms of the Gaethje and Conor thing, let me know down below who wins that fight. If that fight happens in December, is that a mockery to the UFC? Let me know down below. Cheers.